Look, everyone's talking about crypto, right? But what if I told you it's not just about digital money anymore? It's about to show up in your city, your local park, maybe even on your tax bill.
So what if you could actually crowdfund your own community? I mean, really. Instead of waiting years for some complicated bond issue, you could just pull out your phone and, boom, invest directly in that new playground the kids have been wanting. Or, hey, maybe even help buy a new fire truck for the local station.
And believe me, this isn't some far-off sci-fi idea. It's happening right now. All across the country, cities and towns are dipping their toes into crypto to fund real-world projects. We're talking about a huge, massive shift in how our communities could be built from the ground up.
And I'm not kidding, these are real-world experiments. For example, in Colorado, you could pay your taxes with crypto. In Miami, they got over $5 million from their own city coin to help with rent. Berkeley's piloting these things called microbonds to get a new fire truck. And Reno, they've launched the first ever city-run blockchain. This is not a drill, folks. It's a live experiment.
Okay, so why is this all happening now? Why are cities suddenly jumping on this pretty radical new tech? Well, the reason is actually pretty simple, but the problem it's trying to solve, it is absolutely staggering. We are talking about a multi-trillion-dollar problem that, yeah, it affects every single one of us.
$15 trillion. I mean, just let that sink in. It's a number that's almost impossible to really wrap your head around. But that's the projected gap, the shortfall in funding for global infrastructure by 2040. It's the massive chasm between the stuff we need, roads, bridges, schools, and the money we actually have to pay for it all. Yeah, the old ways of doing things, they're just not cutting it anymore. The traditional routes, like municipal bonds and grants, are just so tangled up in red tape and budget cuts. It leaves this giant void, and well, innovation is rushing in to try and fill it. So what's the engine behind all of this? It's a technology called the blockchain. And honestly, the best way to think about it is like a digital ledger or a notebook that's shared with a bunch of people. But here's the magic part. Once you write something in it, it's pretty much set in stone. It can't be changed. And since everyone has a copy, it creates this incredible system of trust and transparency without needing a central bank or government watching over it.
Now, for the people who are all in on this tech isn't just some new gadget. To them, it's a full-blown revolution. They're looking at a future where funding our cities is faster, way cheaper, and, more democratic than it has ever been.
And listen to this quote from Ben Bartlett, a council member in Berkeley. He just nails the dream behind this whole movement. The idea is to empower regular people, you and me, to literally invest in our own backyards, all while chipping away at that huge funding problem.
So how does this actually work? The magic word here is tokenization. It sounds complicated, but it's not. It's basically taking a real thing, like a bridge or a park, and converting its value into digital shares or tokens. Just think of it like tiny digital pieces of ownership, like stocks, that you can buy and sell on the blockchain.
So what's the upside here? What's the promise? Well, for one, you can invest in a local project with as little as $25. Cities can save a ton of money by using smart contracts to automate all that tedious paperwork. Everything is out in the open, recorded on that public ledger. And some people are even dreaming bigger, imagining these things called DAOs, basically community-owned and governed financial systems. Pretty wild stuff.
Okay, but, and this is a huge but, for every incredible promise, there is a very serious danger. This whole vision, as brilliant as it sounds, could end up being a massive gamble with your taxpayer money. And the consequences, they could be devastating.
And yeah, the critics are not holding back. Legal experts are calling it what they see it as, a form of gambling with the retirement funds of public workers. We're talking about the pensions of teachers, firefighters. I mean, that is a really stark warning.
And look, this isn't just some abstract fear. Let's talk about Miami Coin. It had this initial hype, this big surge, and then its value absolutely cratered. It crashed by over 90%. That's a brutal reminder of just how volatile this market is. That's the kind of risk that doesn't just lose money, it can leave public projects completely in the dust.
So you see the massive conflict here, right? On one side, you have the dream, democratizing finance. On the other, the nightmare, speculative gambling. You have the promise of efficiency and lower costs versus the reality of extreme volatility. Community empowerment versus a huge risk to public money. It's this incredible tension between what this tech could be and what it is right now, untested and, frankly, unpredictable.
Okay, so the stakes are obviously incredibly high, which leads to the billion-dollar question, or maybe the trillion-dollar question. Can this thing be tamed? Is there a way to get all those amazing benefits without the catastrophic risks.
And what's really interesting here is that even the top regulators are seeing the potential. You've got an SEC commissioner, Hester Pierce, calling tokenization a potentially transformative innovation. That tells you the goal probably isn't to just ban it outright. It's more about figuring out how to build a sandbox, a safe way to play with this powerful new tool.
So right now, behind the scenes, regulators are basically trying to build the guardrails. They're designing these really complex, robust frameworks. Think of it like they're building a brand new, super strong bridge to connect the Wild West of crypto to the very stable, very regulated world of public finance.
And it seems to be resting on 4 main pillars. First, something called legacy compatibility. Basically, making sure every digital token can be swapped back into the traditional system so it doesn't get, stranded. Second, regulatory compliance. They're using the same strict rules Wall Street uses to protect assets. Third, legal protection. They're using existing commercial laws so that if you own a token, you really own it and it's enforceable in court. And finally, for now, investor protection. They're starting small, only letting sophisticated investors who really get the risks play in these early stages.
So where does that leave all of us? Are we looking at the future of community-powered finance or a taxpayer-funded disaster just waiting to happen? The honest answer is nobody knows for sure. But one thing is certain, the experiment, with all of its incredible promise and terrifying risk, is already happening.
Daily Trends Explained. Follow